Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here today. Welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you to everybody who's been subscribing and downloading. It's so wonderful to know that this information is landing for so many people, because that's my big goal. I want to create a nice ripple effect, and hopefully we can all support each other with some of this information that we share on this podcast. So today I want to talk with you about, the experience of being a woman in private practice who is, a healer, whether you're a counselor, a coach, a psychologist, a social worker, a mental health social worker, you're a healer. And I think that we all get into this role because we want to heal other people, help other people learn how to heal themselves. We want to heal the world. We want to make some kind of impact. We know we were put on this planet for a reason, and that is to, help other people. And I think that that's really, 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 really special. But I also have a theory, and it's just a theory. I have nothing at all to back this up. It's just a gut instinct, if you like, or a big generalization that I'm about to make. And that is, I think if we all did an assessment to see if we were empaths or not, I think that we'd be surprised at how many of us would rate highly on a scale of, being an empath. And so I thought for that reason, it might be helpful today to talk about it and unpack it a little bit, because I'm sure many of you have heard the term but might not know if it applies to you. You might have some suspicion that perhaps it does, but not really understand what it fully means and what it can look like for you in your practice, both as a practice owner, a practice director, but also as a practitioner healer on a sort of day-to-day basis. So I guess the first thing to understand is, where does the term empathy come from? And it really has its root in the word empathy, right? So when we have empathy, what we're talking about is our ability to understand another person's experience beyond our own sort of realm, beyond our own experience. So for example, if you were working with someone who had lost a loved one, but you hadn't lost a loved one, you would still be able to understand that person's pain. You would still be able to understand what that person is experiencing, okay? It's kind of being able to have that energetic, it's not 3D because you don't see it. It's sort of invisible because it's happening with emotions and it's happening with energy, but it's having that sort of sensory experience, if you like. I think you find yourself taking on so much good stuff. Of course, there's good stuff too that you're taking on, like you're taking on other people's happy vibes when that's happening. That's amazing. But you're also taking on sort of lower vibrational stuff too. And I think because we're women in helping professions, we're often working with people who are unwell. Some of us are fortunate to be working in the preventative space, but I think for many of us, people come when they're needing help to heal something. So we're meeting them in that sort of low vibration. And when you're identifying yourself as an empath, what can happen is you end up taking on all of that low vibrational energy, taking on that lower sort of frequency. And maybe you realize that maybe you don't, but you're taking it on, okay? So I want to talk you through some telltale signs of, you know, being an empath, because it might help you to see whether or not you identify with any of this. So, one of the telltale signs is a sense of feeling really overwhelmed, like when there's too much closeness in a relationship. So, those of you doing counseling or coaching, maybe there are times when you're working with a particular client, or maybe you're seeing a high volume of clients, and it's just a sense of all those deep conversations can start to feel draining, can start to feel like they're zapping your energy. Like it gets to 2 or 3 o'clock and you've seen 5 or 6 people and you're just feeling exhausted. You're not feeling energized by your work, you're feeling depleted almost. It's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's just something that people who are empaths can experience, right? Because of that, perhaps there can also be a yearning or a desire to just kind of be on your own, to just be left alone for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. It's like that would be bliss for you. You would think that that was amazing. And sometimes you will go to, lengths to get that space, whether it's taking yourself out of the practice and going and sitting in the car, or taking yourself for a walk around the block, even if it's raining, or something like that. You just want to have that downtime where you're not around other people's energy, okay? Can feel really overwhelming. There might be times where you really, 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 really want to be on your own as well. You try and create that time for yourself, but at the same time, you're worrying about upsetting or offending other people in your space. For example, if you're at work and then you're driving home and you get home and the kids are there and hubby's there, and you're just wanting some time alone, you feel guilty about it. You kind of say to yourself, it's selfish of me to have this time alone. They need me. They haven't seen me all day. They want me to be around. So yeah, okay, I'll be around. And you be around, and you want to be there. Your heart wants to be there, but you also need that time to recharge. And so perhaps you're not fully present, or perhaps you're a bit grumpy or a little bit irritable, or things like that. You can't really just enjoy being around other people because you haven't yet had that chance to, decompress, so to speak. At times when you come home from work and you just want to be alone, you're not sure how to get that time. You feel like you have really good intuition, and this shows up in the way that you show up for your work as a practitioner, in that you can be sitting there with a client holding space for that client, but it's almost as if you know what they're about to say. It's almost as if you can anticipate or predict where today's session's going to go for this person. There's just an innate knowing that you have. Before words tumble out of their mouth, you kind of already anticipate how they're feeling. You're just picking up on the vibe of the room. There's just something there. And maybe, if you had a girlfriend or something and she popped into that counseling room or that coaching space, or, into that space, she wouldn't pick up on it. But you do. That's the difference. That's kind of what sets you apart. So you're tending to pick up on somebody's feelings and their thoughts and all of those sorts of non-verbal cues because you're like really acutely aware of them. And in fact, even when you leave the practice for the day and maybe you just go shopping, maybe you go to a supermarket on your way home and you're just picking up some groceries, you know what I mean? You're standing in the checkout and you can sense and feel and be aware of how people in front of you and behind you are feeling just by looking at them. You just kind of know. You're just kind of in that space and you just know what kind of a mood that person's in, what his or her vibe is. There's just something that you're picking up on that other people around you don't necessarily pick up upon. So you're kind of not getting that break. And this is why being in crowds, if you like, and a crowd can be a group of 3 or 4 people, but being in crowds can be even more overwhelming because it's just everywhere you look, every face you see, every person you stand next to as you're picking out what apples you're going to put in your bag that night. You're picking up on their vibe, you're picking up on that energy. And so this is why there's that craving for that alone time. It's almost as if you don't know yet, you haven't learned yet how to shield your energy, how to put those protective barriers in place. You're just absorbing everything, and that's why it feels heavy sometimes and it feels like it's too much. It's like nature is your happy place. Nature can just be you in the backyard. But let's imagine going for a walk in the park, going and sitting at the beach, watching the water. Doing that alone is bliss for you. It allows you to feel grounded. It really allows you to come back down to earth. When you're connected in nature, you feel the energy of the earth coming up through your feet. You feel connected from below. You feel connected from above. You feel connected from in front, behind, and all around. It's just, you could spend time in nature and you wouldn't be aware of how long you'd been there. It would just be filling your cup the whole time. And that would feel really, really pleasing and calming and nourishing for you. If you're an empath, you probably find it really hard to switch off, even when you really, really want to. And maybe loved ones are aware that you find it hard to, not take on other people's stuff. And so they might try and help you by saying things to you like, don't worry about it, or that's their issue, not yours, focus on yourself. And while they're well-intentioned saying these things, what's happening is that's just not possible for you because you're not wired to switch off. You're wired to absorb. And so sometimes when people are saying to you, don't worry about it, or just switch off, or leave it at work, that can be almost exasperating, infuriating, it can bother you, it can make you feel misunderstood. And it can contribute to feelings of isolation that you might already be aware of on a bit of a deeper level. So sometimes empaths can report that they feel disconnected, they feel isolated, and it's because of a perception that nobody really understands things the way that you do or the way that they do. And so you can feel like you're on the outside. So even though there's this constant exchange of energy between you and the world around you, or between you and people around you, so there's that deeper connection lots of people don't have, it's because of that deeper connection you feel alone. You feel like other people don't get it, other people don't understand, and you would just wish sometimes that you could switch this off, because you would like to just be normal, in air quotes, whatever normal is. And you would really just love to have a normal relationship and just allow things to wash off you like they do for other people. That would be amazing for you. Another telltale sign of perhaps, being an empath or identifying as an empath is like this desire to avoid conflict, but not for the same reasons that other people might. So there aren't, to be honest, let's be honest, not many people love conflict. I'm sure there are some, but as women healers in helping professions, we don't generally seek out conflict. Okay, we like to process it, we like to help other people process it, work through it, resolve it, all those sorts of things. We go and we do workshops on resolving conflict, and then we run trainings for people, and we run our own workshops on conflict, and we write blog posts about it, whatever. But as an empath, as a woman empath, the reason that we avoid conflict or at all costs is because we take on other people's stuff. It's not just that it's uncomfortable for us to be confronted by something or to be in that state of conflict, but it's also that we take on the distress of the other person. So for us, it's a double hit of distress. It's a double hit of being upset. It's a double hit of being defensive. It's a double hit of feeling angry. It's a double hit of all of the emotions that are coming up for both people during that conflict. And that can be overwhelming. All right. So that's why conflict can really, really, really affect somebody who identifies as an empath. Okay. Now, the other thing is that boundaries are something that you might really, 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 really struggle with as an empath. And it's for all sorts of reasons. It's probably because maybe you haven't learned how to put them in place yet, because you need a different process to everybody else. It might be concerns you have around what it might do to this gift that you've got of having so much empathy. You don't want to perhaps turn it down or dial it down. And so there's fear around that. What if I dial it down and I don't know how to dial it back up again? So there's all kinds of things there. But I think as women in private practice, being an empath is something that, many of us can probably identify with, because it's the nature of our work is to connect deeply with others. We've been trained in how to form rapport and build connections that are loving with others and that are deeply caring and that are deeply nurturing, and we've been taught not to be judgmental, and we've been taught to have an open mind. And so sometimes for some of us, we can forget to put those healthy boundaries in place because we are totally there with a client. And I think too, it's just part of who some of us are. It's just part of our genetic makeup is to be really empathic. And so if you want to learn, I guess, about how to manage this, if you've listened to some of these little signs or common traits of an empath and you're identifying with this and you want to learn more about it, I invite you to come into the private practice mentorship group, where you can learn a little bit more about boundaries, about managing your energy, around how to manage working in private practice as a woman that identifies as an empath, so that you can function and thrive and flourish in all of the beautiful ways that you really want to for your soul-led private practice. Okay, and maybe if this is your first time really hearing about what an empath is, what that term sort of means, and it's resonating for you, maybe even you just want to have a chat about it, that's fine too. I'll put my email address in the comments as always, and you can reach out, and I'm happy to have a quick chat, 10 or 15 minutes on Zoom with you and give you some more information and point you in the right direction for sources of support, because if you don't have support around you, what can happen is the long-term effects of not having resources put in place can be that you are more likely to experience, burnout, perhaps sooner than some of your peers and colleagues. It can affect the way that you work with some of your clients. It can affect the way that you manage staff. It can affect the way you market the business. It has a lot of ripple effects. And of course, energetically, it has a lot of effects too. So I'd love, love, love to let you know that there's absolutely support available for you. And as I said, it's, you're absolutely invited to come and be part of our group, where you can get support from other women who also identify as empaths and see what they do. And have a connection, okay? Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you have a beautiful weekend. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.